how do you think the church is doing when it comes to trying to preach grace? And I bring that up because, of course, as talked a little bit about sooner, is being part of the Iowa Preachers Project. That really has been hitting it home about the importance of preaching the gospel, preaching the good news, preaching grace, and how I think if there's anything that has, I mean, I know this before, but I have had it kind of hammered into me over the last year, is how much people are hungry for this, and sometimes how much the church doesn't always do that, and
Yeah.
sometimes we fall short. But I'm kind of curious in your observations, how has the church, especially in our modern day, really been at communicating that message, or are we sometimes letting other things kind of get in front of that before we're imparting grace?
Yeah, I mean, it probably comes as no surprise that I think the church has largely lost the plot. I mean, it's still, I happen to love the church, and the church has ministered to me in all sorts of unexpected ways, despite its, craziness and dysfunction over the years. So I take this with a grain of salt, but I think that the temptation to get up there and tell people what to do, because there's so much, either because you see people suffering and you know that what they're doing is going to hurt themselves or other people, or you see the world and it's a mess and it's on fire and you want to motivate people to do whatever they can to sort of help their neighbors. But the temptation to get up there and sort of preach the law, which is you must do this or you must do that, even when it's good stuff, and it usually is good stuff, actually, is just so strong. And we think that if we don't tell people what to do, nothing's ever going to get better. And so I empathize with the desire to, because a lot of times it is born out of like not wanting to see other folks suffer and seeing the
Mm-hmm.
harm, the pain that people are in. But the question is like, what is the church actually for? Is it the place where you go to get instructions and a rule book for living? Or is it a place where you go to hear about the forgiveness and love of God on a sort of a weekly basis? Because every week you're going to be in a different spot and you're going to need to hear it. And you never know who's come to church that week, whether they've just lost a loved one or whether they've just gotten divorce papers served to them. I think you just the grace of God. But Dennis, thing that we can add to the conversation that you can't really find elsewhere. You can't get it at brunch, and you can't get it in certain other, religious or spiritual traditions. But the places where I do see people, churches preaching grace rather than partisan politics, which is always a form of what people should do. It's always like vote this way, think this way, you know, uh, serve this way. But wherever I see the gospel proclaimed, which means like this is who God is, and what God has done for you, even in your inability to do it. Like I see all sorts of amazing fruit happening. I see churches growing. I see exciting things happening. So I do see it around. It's not like universally, but done a bad job. But there's also, we have to admit that, once you're a person who's being looked to for spiritual authority, the temptation to believe your own hype is very, very strong, and to become, to consolidate your influence or to get involved in non-essential causes, I think it's just extremely tempting. So, and I've seen it in myself. I know it in myself. But if I were to urge, if the church had anything, if what I'm trying to get across to the church is simply like, lean on the grace of God. Like just try it. See what happens if you just put the other stuff, as important as it is, on pause, knowing that there are a lot of great nonprofits out there. There's a lot of great social services out there. There's a lot of other good organizations that are doing probably a better job of other stuff. But can you preach the blood of Jesus? That's like in a way that reaches people where they actually live. I think it's a very, very strong thing, and I do see it happening in some places. But I also see churches that have lost the sort of their nerve. They've lost the kind of their convictions, and they're just too scared because life is so hard